What's up guys, Drewzy here back again with another South Park Phone Destroyer video guys. A lot of information to go over in today's episode. Today's episode primarily will just be an update, evaluation of the most recent update, balance changes that are going to be coming to the game as posted on the Ubisoft Forums by It's Just Buck just about an hour or so before I uploaded this video. So there are two big things I want to get to real quick before I get to the main focus of this video, which is going to be the card update changes. But the two big other additional updates, information that needs to be done is there will be a weekend event this weekend. It is a mystical theme event. However, there is not going to be a focus on card, and the main reason for that is because the legendary season reset will be early next week, sometime around Monday morning. So because that's coming up and people are trying to grind to move their way up in the leaderboards of Legendary Arena, they're not going to essentially punish us by forcing us to play certain cards for a team or weekend event, but instead it will be material items in PvP lockers and PvP packs, similar to what they have been primarily doing towards the end of the Legendary Season reset. The other big thing, of course, is, like I said, the seasonal reset date has been verified for April the 17th at around 8 a.m. UTC. So that is going to be when the seasonal reset hits. So sometime Tuesday morning for most of us, or Monday evening, kind of depending on time zones. That's when the reset will happen, and keep up to date with the reset information as it goes on basically on the shield of Out of Butter shop. So if you go to Butter shop, click on the arena with your shield rank, it will then show you how much longer we have in the actual legendary season before the reset happens. When the reset kicks in, it'll be about a 30 to 45 minutes, what they're saying, delay for maintenance, and then they will have the game ready for you to start your seasonal 4 journey. But the big news in the forum update today was the balance changes they're making to cards, which they have announced will not happen until after the seasonal reset. So part of the season reset time block of 30 to 45 minutes, a lot of it will probably be to tweak a lot of these card changes. They have mentioned as well that there will be a later big update that will fix a lot of the bug issues that are going on within the game. They did not give specific information on that, but that is to come at a later date is what they are saying. But we're going to quickly again talk about the card changes, because there's a lot of information here, guys. A lot of buffs are going to be coming in these card changes, a very minimal amount of debuffs, but we'll get to both of them here as we go along. So the first big one is about Cox. I know what you're thinking, Cox, what am I talking about? If you haven't played this game long enough, you know there are about 3 different Cox units. There is Chicken Coop, there is Cock Magic, and then there is the Amazingly Randy. So those are the Cox units currently within the game. I do not believe I missed any, but do remind me you guys will remind me if I did miss any. I'm pretty sure I didn't there. But for Cox, we noticed that Cox were in the need of some attention. They weren't getting much love and on the battlefield. I mean, nobody played Chicken Coop. Hardly anybody plays Amazingly Randy. Cock Magic, however, is been utilized much more. That's not really where this buff is really focused on. It's really focused on Amazingly Randy and Chicken Coop specifically, in all honesty. We decided, let's see, hoping to give them a little more spark and really make them worth it. Your cock-related cries have been answered in hopes of seeing some stronger Cox in your hand. We've doubled the starting health of all Cox from 25 to 50 at level 1. So that means that Amazingly Randy's Cox and the Cox that spawn into Chicken Coop at level 1 will now spawn with double the base health, which is a nice tweak, which is a fairly big tweak at a 50% jump. But in all reality, I don't really honestly think that both these cards will be utilized a lot more, because there's just a lot of strength in fantasy and a lot of other cards, especially in some different epic cards. So I don't know if how much this is really going to change the game. It'll be interesting to see going forward. I do plan to do some videos hopefully surrounding a cog deck. I've been trying to make a cog deck for quite a while now, but they just were very underutilized and very weak. So maybe this will actually make them viable and playable. And they also have said that they will increase the overall health of Chicken Coop from base health from 330 to 450, and then so on and so forth. It will then increase after that. So that's nice. It's going to get a nice jump in health. Now the health essentially allows the duration of it, so it will continue to basically survive as long as the health bar is still there. Once the health bar is gone, Chicken Coop will basically be destroyed at that point. So this could be interesting to see if people are actually going to utilize Chicken Coop in decks now. So I guess, again, we'll kind of see that going forward as far as some buffs to the Cox in the game. So that's really interesting. Did not see that coming, in all honesty, as far as that being a card that they would want to focus on. So that'll, again, be very interesting to see. The next card we're going to talk about for the sci-fi theme, Gizmo Ike. And remember, I did a video a long time ago about Gizmo Ike and him being the best assassin in the game, which, of course, is not true. Now, having a much better knowledge base of this game since I've been playing it / making videos for this. So Gizmo Ike, our furry little friend, wasn't quite as useful as we hoped. We've heard frequently from many of you in the community that it was being overshadowed by every other Ike, which are 2 other Ikes within the game currently. The Ike for the mystical theme has not been released yet as I'm making this video. So we've made some changes, and we hope that you all like his walk speed has been decreased from 1.08 to 0.07 or 0.7. So essentially what that's going to do is it's going to slow him to give him more time to get the charge ready before heading over to the enemy side. So they're actually making him slower moving, which to a lot of people you'd say, well, that sucks, because one of the big things with assassin cards generally is they have increased movement speed over any other card. So by shortening or making him slower moving, it will get his charge up much faster. So you might get multiple Gizmo Ikes now on the field before crossing that center line. That'll be interesting to see. And his charge time has been changed from 12.5 down to 7. So that's a pretty big jump right there. Almost halved. Not quite, but fairly close to being almost half of what the charge time is. So you should be have the opportunity to get a decent amount of Ikes out across the field here going forward. Ike's copies are also getting a little bit of a buff as their base attack is being increased from 30 to 39, and their base HP will be increased from 29 to 39. So that's also interesting as well. You're going to see the Ike copies be stronger and the Ikes be stronger. This could be very interesting, guys. You could possibly start seeing maybe a Kyle of the Drow Elves to pair with a Gizmo Ike. That could be a dangerous combination now if you think about it, just to have that shield with all those Ikes. It could be nasty. Well, I mean, that could be an interesting combo. Maybe make a video with that combination in it, as I do have my Kyle of the Drow Elves decently leveled and my Gizmo Ike is decently leveled. We'll see kind of what shakes out. But again, these are some bizarre upgrades that I did not see coming, in all honesty. But one of the big ones that has been requested, heavily requested for a long time, and got a proper introduction into this next segue with a hashtag, is hashtag buff all Randys. Everybody has been whining for a while, including myself, that the Randy cards are not very strong. And not so much whining, it's just more common sense fact that the Randy cards were undervalued, not undervalued, underperforming. So as they state here, this is another one we've been hearing quite a bit about from the community. Randys are currently super underutilized, so we wanted all Randy cards to get a little bit of a boost. This should give them a little bit more staying power and give you all a bit of a chance and incentive to unleash your Randys. So as you can see here, it talks about sexing on Randy first, base attack increasing from 40 to 50, and base HP increasing from 320 to 400. Little Choir Boy, the Little Choir Boys, that's sexing on Randy summons, will have their base attack increase from 50 to 90. That's almost a double buff, and their base health from 50 to 90, almost a double buff as well. So sexing on Randy, getting a solid buff, especially to his minions, and a semi, mild buff to himself. So that'll be interesting to see how well Sexing on Randy plays here going forward. For Pocahontas Randy, his base HP is increased from 320 to 400, and in his Indians, the base HP is increased from 70 to 120. The big difference with Sexing on Randy and Pocahontas Randy, for instance, is Sexing on Randy, the Little Choir Boys are technically assassins, where for Pocahontas Randy, his Indians are technically fighters. So that's a big difference. That's why the focus on damage for Pocahontas Randy isn't there as far as for his minions. It's just base health, because as a fighter, that's really the more important stat in all reality. Probably is just they need to be able to survive better, maybe so, than do a little bit more damage. For 6 element Randy, the base attack is increasing from 60 to 75, and the base HP from 400 to 500. So they're not buffing his minions, so basically his robots, Roombas, but they are buffing him as his base attack and base health. And then amazingly, Randy will benefit from the stronger cock buff that was mentioned earlier at the very beginning when we talked about the buffs. So I'm not going to go into that yet again. So Amazingly Randy, basically his cocks are going to be better, but Amazingly Randy himself will be the same, as he is a range card versus a fighter card like the other three Randys are. So that is kind of a decently key thing to note. And remember, he's getting 2 summon units each time he summons versus 1 like the other 3 Randys do. So that might also play in the fact that you can't make Amazingly Randy much better, but try to make his minions at least viable. So this will be interesting to see how well the Randys perform going forward, guys. I do plan on experimenting with I do have all 4 of them, so I do plan on experimenting with them, and then I will most likely update my best of Randy video that I made a decent while ago now, probably a month or 2 ago as I'm recording this, because I feel like this is going to change possibly how the Randys perform, or which Randy could be better now going forward. So if you guys want to see that, let me know. I will do that video, probably even if you guys don't want to see it, just because I think it'll be interesting to see how much better the Randys perform here going forward. Next one we need to talk about, Ice Sniper Wendy. Ice Sniper Wendy is very underutilized, and they state she has a solid charge ability. I would disagree with that. I don't think her charge ability is as strong as some of the other Wendys that are within the game, but the community feedback has indicated that she needs a little bit of a bump in order to see more field time. In order to give her a little extra oomph, we increased her base attack from 19 to 25. So Wendy's just going to be a little bit stronger as far as her own attack, but her charge is still going to be, in my opinion, the worst of the Wendy basically charged abilities. So we'll kind of see how Ice Sniper Wendy, in all honesty, I don't see her probably being increased much in gameplay from this buff, but you know, I could be proven wrong. We could see that possibly. Pope Timmy is getting a buff as well, as Pope Timmy, in my opinion, was the worst range card in this entire game. So we'll see how this works out. But while Pope Timmy has an awesome war cry, which, I mean, if it works correctly and it's not, you know, still going through the bugs and issues that it's having, then yeah, his war cry is very good. He wasn't seeing much use. In order to add more value for energy, his base attack will be increased from 48 to 64, and his base HP from 128 to 200. So he's going to become a mini little tank back in the back compared to what he was. Not a huge groundbreaking buff, but I mean, you think about it, Pope Timmy is a 7 energy cost, the highest cost for a ranged unit. You got to give him some kind of love to make him even viable. So this will be interesting to see if just the increase to damage and health will make him more playable or more usable. I do not intend on probably playing with Pope Timmy, so if you guys want to let me know how the Pope Timmy buffs helped or hindered him, hopefully it doesn't hinder him, hopefully it helps him, but how much it did help him, you know, let me know in the comment section or in future videos as we go forward. And then one of the big complaints that has been pretty justified with some of the ridiculous amount of nerfing that has been seen for Purify and Powerbind. They are tweaking them yet again, guys. This time they're getting some love back. Not as much, but a little bit, a very minimal amount of love back in my opinion. The base radius for Purify is being increased from 1 to 1.3 and upgradable to 1.6. Powerbind's base radius increasing from 1 to 1.5, upgradable to 1.8, and unlimited targets. Now here's the key difference here. Purify still has the limit of purifiable units based on the card level. Powerbind will no longer have that effect from how that reads, that they will have as many targets in the target area. So if there's 8 targets in a 1.5 radius, which is probably not realistic, then you will then Powerbind all those units. That's a key difference between the Purify and Powerbind buffs, is that Purify will still be under the same regulations as it was previously before this little radius buff that it's about to receive, in that it will still only purify the number of units as its card level. So do keep that in mind, guys, with these two spells. So I have seen Powerbind still used fairly regularly by mystical players. I see it now probably being permanent in most decks now, probably going forward. Again, for the mystical players, Purify will probably still be kind of hit and miss, so we'll kind of see if this radius buff is going to be enough to put Purify back on the map, which could affect the poison players in the sci-fi decks here going forward, so that'll be interesting to see. Now we're going into a little bit of the debuffs. So there are 3 cards in this debuff section that they are debuffing here going forward. The first one is, or actually 2 cards, will be from the adventure theme, Calamity Heidi and Smuggler Ike. So we felt that these 2 have a little bit too much value at a 2-unit cost, and we are adjusting them slightly. Heidi, the base HP will be reduced from 150 to 130, so not a huge nerf, just a tweak here, going with 20 HP difference. But of course that will, you know, multiply as far as the level goes up. So she will get a slight nerf to health, but overall it seems like I mean, Calamity Honey's still going to be widely used, even at a 2 cost, but she'll just maybe be a little bit easier to kill. Smuggler Ike's base attack boost from his charge power will be reduced from 10 to 5, so that's getting halved. But Smuggler Ike is still the best assassin right now, in my opinion, in the adventure mode. So this doesn't take that away. It just makes him a little bit less as I wouldn't say overpowered, but as strong as he was. He was extremely powerful as an assassin, and still is, in my opinion. But I think it takes him a few steps back as far as being the best assassin maybe now in the game. Now I would probably take that away. And I don't know, honestly, if I'd put him in that category even initially anyways. And then the last debuff that we're going to talk about and that they mentioned is Rat Swarm. So these little buggers are the most played unit in the game, which is pretty obvious because they're a neutral card and they're a swarm unit, which are very popular, and they're just a very strong counter unit, the best counter unit in the game. Most of that is due to their low cost and ability to quickly sneak up and attack a unit or the new kid, or to just take several hits that would otherwise be chipping away at a more valuable unit. In order to make them more balanced while not drastically modifying their usefulness, we will have their walk speed modified. So their walk speed will be lowered from a 1.7 to a 1.5. So not a huge debuff, so obviously they're just going to be a little bit slower. So that might make it to where you could poison them easier or take them out a little bit faster, or maybe make, you know, the counter units for them, like Rogue Token, like Terrence Mephisto, like Nathan, things like that do AoE damage, to be able to do that a little bit quicker going forward. So interesting to see the buffs that they're doing. A lot of the buffs were slightly blindsiding me here, guys. What do you guys think of the buffs, the debuffs? In all honesty, the debuffs really aren't that groundbreaking, so I think that that's a positive side from what Red Lynx is doing here. A lot of the buffs I don't think are really going to change a lot of the core concepts of the game. I think a lot of the same high tier cards will stay the same. I really don't think this is really going to be meta changing at all. But I think it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if this is maybe the right step. The bigger issue and the thing that most of us really want, including myself, is to change these bugs, to fix these servers, to fix the other issues that are going on, not necessarily change. I mean, I would rather save this for later in April, or later maybe next month, if you're going to change and all the bugs and all the other stuff that now you're postponing that aspect. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think of all the things that are coming yet again? Thank you guys so much for the continued support on the channel. Really do appreciate it. You guys are amazing. The community, my community, or my subscriber base, is continuing to grow, which is awesome. Really glad to see that, even though a lot of people feel this game is dying. But until next time, guys, my name is Drewzy.